Zach is walking alone down the city sidewalk in the middle of the day in Columbia, Missouri. With a guitar slung over his back, he wears his all-green superhero suit, a bold black Z embezzled across his chest. A simple mask shadows his eyes, and a cape sways lightly behind him. Zach hums softly, a tune without words, low, steady, almost like the earth is echoing back. With each note, small signs of life ripple through the cracks in the concrete. A wilted flower lifts its head. Vines slither up a rusted stop sign. A tiny sapling sprouts near a storm drain. Zach pauses mid-step, looks around, humming stops. The growth stills. He hums again, a single note. And a nearby daisy uncurls in bloom. Zach says quietly to himself, "That wasn't me, was it?" He slowly turns back around and keeps going. The city continues to hum around him, but something vibrates beneath the surface. There's a pulse in the wind, like the earth is holding its breath. Birds fly above. A raccoon yawns from a dumpster and gives Zach a slow, knowing blink. The raccoon says, with his mouth full, casually, "You got any grapes?" "No." Worth the shot." Zach does a double take. Wait, did that raccoon just talk? The dumpster rustles. The raccoon is gone. Zach pauses, walks up to see the raccoon is still in the dumpster. Huh? He peeks in. The raccoon disappears into the garbage. Zach squints, shakes his head. Okay. Definitely did not just hear a raccoon talk. Zach continues his stroll and walks past students lost in screens and headphones. His green suit and black Z gleam in the sunlight. Something feels off though, like normal is a mask about to fall. A squirrel hops down from a nearby branch, eyes bright, tail twitching. It scampers right up to Zach, stands on its hind legs, and places a glowing acorn into his palm. Huh? Thanks, little dude. He takes the acorn. Then the squirrel says, "Hi, bye." Zach freezes. Wait. Did you just talk? I can understand you. The squirrel says, already halfway up the tree, "You can now. You're rooted." Then Zach says, "Why'd you give me this nut?" The squirrel pauses and then says, "In case you see the harvest." Zach says, tense, "The harvest? Oh yeah, Mother Nature warned me about them. Didn't think I'd see them this quickly." A voice interrupts from off screen, loud and obnoxious. Carl. He says, "Yo, you having a tea party with the squirrel, twig boy?" Carl steps into view. Nikki right behind him, and Tyler trailing further back. Carl scoffs, staring at Zach's interaction. The squirrel says, "Harvest. They're bad people. Rotting roots. They eat light. Anyway, gotta go. Squirrel stuff." The squirrel vanishes into the branches with a flick of its tail. Carl watches it go, confused. Carl says, pulling off his shades, "Hold up. Wait a second." He squints at Zach's cape, then explodes laughing. No way, bro. You cosplaying Captain Kale out here? Then Nikki says, "Dude looks like he got kicked out of Comic-Con for preaching tofu gospel." Zach keeps walking, calm and steady. The acorn in his pocket glows faintly, reacting to the tension. Carl spots the same squirrel sitting nearby on a branch, tail twitching. Then Carl says, "Let's see if your forest friends are bulletproof, twig boy." He grabs a rock and hurls it directly at the squirrel. Zach spins around in a 180. Instincts kick in. He pulls the glowing acorn from his pocket. "You'll have to get through me and the forest." He throws the acorn just before the rock hits the squirrel. Whoosh. The acorn sprouts mid-air. A massive tree erupts. A thick branch lashes upward, smashing the rock mid-air, saving the squirrel. But the tree doesn't stop growing. Vines burst out uncontrollably, cracking the pavement, knocking over a row of bikes and a recycling bin. Then a college student says, "Yo, that tree just destroyed my scooter." Zach says to himself, nervously, "Okay, maybe still learning how to aim." Then Nikki says, panicking, "He's a freaking druid." Nikki bolts. Carl stumbles back wide-eyed. Carl says, "Freak show, this ain't over." He stumbles off. Zach looks down at the glowing roots, still twitching. That wasn't just instinct, that was something else. Zach turns away, cape flowing in the wind. Calm, still, he feels in control. Tyler stays put as Zach walks past him. He locks eyes with Zach, curious and quiet. For a moment, Zach studies him and sees something there, a spark, an opportunity to inspire. Zach plants himself calm and steady, then sings loud and proud, his voice carrying through the air like it belongs there. He holds direct, unwavering eye contact with Tyler, hypnotizing but not controlling, inspiring.
Mind following the crowd. Do you mind the cruelty that's been found? Who do you think they are? And why won't you open up their heart?
Tyler remains frozen as the street around him seems to breathe and shift. Vines crack through the pavement, curling into the road. The tree bursts upward, its roots shoving into the asphalt. At a cafe, a branch smashes through a table, sending burgers and drinks flying. Onlookers gasp and stumble back, unsure whether to flee or stand in awe. Z-Man's voice fades into silence, and he exhales, the connection broken. He shakes off the intensity and keeps walking, cape trailing. For Tyler, it struck a hidden chord, and somewhere deep, it took root inside him. Around the corner, Zach catches sight of the chaos left behind. Vines wrapped around signs, cracked streets, the ruined cafe. He pauses, breathless. Zach thinks to himself, I felt everything, their fear, their confusion. It's like the earth was speaking through me, but screaming too. Moments after Zach walked down the street, a shadowy figure crouches on a rooftop across the street, half shrouded in the gloom. The faint glow of a tablet illuminates his visor as he slowly swipes through strange readings of swirling light in the air. He pauses, tilts his head, clearly unsettled. It's a harvest agent, and he speaks into his earpiece, saying, "Unidentified anomaly detected. Residual light signatures stronger than expected. Source unknown. Continual surveillance." You ever do something and you're like, what even was that? Like, where did that come from? I wasn't trying to be a hero. Just trying to stop a guy from hurting a squirrel. But the second I stepped in, something answered, like the earth had been holding its breath, and finally said, "All right, let's begin." I didn't wake up that day thinking I'd grow a whole tree out of my pocket, or leave someone speechless just by standing my ground. But I did, and it shifted something in me, maybe even something in them. And once I stopped trying to be normal, the world started showing me what I really am. What we all might be if we listened close enough. And yeah, I know it sounds wild. One second I'm singing to flowers, the next people in suits are tracking me like I'm a glitch in their system. But that's how awakening works, right? You come alive and suddenly they notice. The wrong people notice. But soon enough, someone else will notice too. Someone who's walked this road before with me. For now, let's get back to the story. It's about to heat up. Back at Plaza 700, at Zach's work, he switched out of his superhero suit and into his work clothes, and Todd is berating him. Todd says, furious, "You think this is a stage? You're a burger boy, not a bard. You don't even eat meat, so how can you cook it?" Zach just stares, calm. Todd says, "Well, you show up, you work, that's all I care about. You're on the grill, as usual, so move." A couple moments later, Zach's stacking boxes of meat in the freezer. He quietly hums to himself. A soft golden light hums from his chest. And then Zach started to sing louder and louder.
I'ma sing, get the feeling every single day. Right in evil's face, no won't let it fade.
The world slows. Zach closes his eyes, the golden glow on his chest pulsing brighter. A flicker of emerald light flashes behind his eyelids. Something inside him hums, not just music. His eyes open, glowing faintly green. Then the music resumes.
Louder, louder, like you hit the power. But not like as if it's been off the whole time. Can you feel it? Do you feel it? Can you feel it? Do you feel it? Can you feel it? Do you feel it? Can you feel it? Just like da 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 da.
Students line up. Something's different. One student says, "I'll try the vegan burger today." And then another student says, "Actually, me too." The salad bar glows faintly. Energy subtly radiates. Students laugh, smile, talk kindly to each other with open hearts. Todd comes storming out. "Zero beef sold today? Giant profit loss. What is this? Some trick you pulled?" Zach removes his apron because it's the end of his shift now. And Zach says, "Maybe it's not a loss. Maybe it's a shift." T-Bone Todd snapping back. No, it was a loss. And if it happens again, I'll end all of your shifts. As in, you're fired. You hear me? Leans in, eyes narrowing. "This is a business, not your little activist poetry stage. I've got meat to move and a farm to keep running. Feelings don't pay the bills." Zach says softly as he walks out, "Yes, sir, I understand." T-Bone Todd has his own farm called Todd's Farm. And so, every single time he doesn't make enough money to fully fund his farm and all the animals he enjoys eating, he gets even more bitter than usual. Zach's music wasn't just inspiring, it was awakening. This, Todd could not stand. Years ago, on a rainy night, Zach is walking under an awning on Broadway and 9th Street. He's younger, ragged. Another homeless man is not too far from him. His name is Lockdown, early 20s, hoodie up, headphones in, rapping and singing on the street corner as Zach walks up. Zach says, "Dude, that music is colder than the mountaintops of heaven. Also, this rain is cold. You doing alright out here?" Lockdown says, grinning, "Man, I've been sleeping on concrete in Chicago. This feels like a 5-star suit. At least we got a dry spot." "You rap?" Zach says, "I sing more than rap." Then Lockdown says, "Bet. You do your thing. I'll spit bars. Let's warm the block." They start freestyling together, laughing, rapping, warming each other's spirits with rhythm. Now, back to present day. It's late evening, and the same man from Zach's past, but now with sharper focus in his eyes and a calmer swagger, leans on the bench behind Zach's performance as Zach busks on 9th Street and Broadway in downtown Columbia, Missouri. A faint grin plays on his face as he watches, and Lockdown says, "Hey yo, if it ain't my boy Zach Attack out here making the earth cry tears of joy." Zach turns his face, lights up, they hug hard, years melting away. Zach says, "Lock, when did you get back?" Lockdown says, "Just touched down in Como. Been too long. Didn't know you became a damn superhero, bro." Zach says, smiling, "I got a couch. You need a place?" Lockdown says, "Man, you already know I was hoping you'd say that." Zach says, "Well, let's get you settled. My place is just a few blocks away." Moments later, a hooded figure steps silently out of the shadows where Zach and Lockdown just were. His face stays hidden, but faint blue light glints off sleek armor plates beneath his coat. In one hand, a scanner device hums faintly, casting ripples of golden energy into the air. A slender, glowing light rifle rests across his back. He crouches low, sweeping the scanner slowly across the ground. Threads of golden light signatures swirl faintly where Zach just stood busking. He presses a button on his earpiece, voice low and calm. The mysterious agent says, detecting something unusual. Not standard light field. Signatures are unstable. 3 times expected output. Can't confirm origin. The scanner screen shows a glowing golden silhouette. Clearly Zach, flickering and unregistered. The agent frowns faintly but keeps scanning. Above on a nearby rooftop, a harvest agent peers through a dark scope, whispering into his comm. The harvest agent says, "Target located. Proceed." The hooded figure freezes, hearing a faint metallic whir click behind him. His eyes flick toward the shadow. He presses his earpiece again. The mysterious agent says, "Hold. Area's hot." Suddenly, a harvest agent lunges from the darkness, pulling him deeper into the alley. 6 more step from the walls, clad in jagged black armor, visors glowing faintly red. Each carries a terrifying shadow tech weapon. Some have massive butcher cleavers, etched with pulsing black veins. Others whirl flensing whips that hiss as they slice through the air. One shoulders a harpoon launcher, the barb dripping with darkness, while another levels a scatterblade rifle that rattles with hunger whispers. 2 agents exchange whispers as they encircle him. The first target agent says, "He's close to the anomaly." The second one says, "Take him down, leave nothing." The mystery agent exhales, sliding the scanner into his pocket, and draws his light rifle. The barrel hums to life, a sharp white pulse traveling its length, and then he says, "Alright, guess we're doing this the hard way." Chaos erupts. One agent swings a butcher blade. The hooded figure sidesteps, disarms him, and sends him sprawling with a blinding shot of light. Another lashes a flensing whip. He catches it mid-crack, yanks the wielder forward, and knees him into the wall. The harpoon bolt fires. He spins sideways, letting it embed into the bricks, then tears it free and throws it back at its owner with precision. The scatterblade rifle sprays a cloud of shadow shards that slice the air. He throws up a quick light barrier, deflecting most of it, then returns fire with a blast that sends the shooter skidding back down the alleyway. One agent comes in low, swinging twin bone hooks. The hooded figure drops to a knee, sweeps their legs, and blasts them point blank. Another rushes from behind, but he spins, grabs their butcher blade, and drives it into the armor of the final attacker before vaulting over a dumpster, grabbing a chunk of fallen shadow tech in one hand. His scanner now cracked. Flashes one more time, Zach's golden silhouette now blazing as the hooded figure mutters to himself, "Still no match on record. Impossible." The harvest agent comes from behind and hits him hard with a shadow cleaver. Luckily, his armor is strong enough to where it doesn't penetrate his skin, but he drops his scanner without noticing. He blasts this agent with his light rifle, and the remaining agents stagger upright, their weapons flickering, but a final burst of light from the hooded figure blinds them just long enough for him to slip away into a deeper alley. Breathing hard, he presses his earpiece as he moves. Recovered shadow tech sample. Will reverse engineer at HQ. On my way back. A pause. Then a warm, worried voice replies over comm. "Copy that. Stay safe out there, Brent." The hooded figure smirks faintly at the mention of his name, then vanishes. Back in the alley, the wounded harvest agents stir. One remaining operative presses a jagged reset beacon into the ground. It glows black and emits a pulse of shadow energy. Cracks in the pavement seal. Smashed walls reform, and shattered lampposts rise upright again. The bodies and weapons of fallen agents dissolve into black tar and seep into the cracks, leaving the alley pristine as though nothing happened. The last agent's visor glows faintly as he whispers into comm, almost to himself, before vanishing into the shadows. "We found him." The cracked scanner left in the gutter sparks once more before fading to black. Meanwhile, in Zach's apartment, it's nighttime now. Lockdown enters, bag over his shoulder, posters of animals, resistant art, and vegan-themed hero comics on the wall. Light smells of herbs and fresh fruit. Lockdown looks around. "Yo, this vibe? This is you, huh? I see it now." He holds up a folded copy of campus newspaper. On the cover, a slightly blurred photo of Zach mid-performance, green glow faint but visible. Headline: Mysterious street musician or campus superhero? Who is ZmanTheVegan? Lockdown continues. "Wait, how long have you been doing this superhero thing anyway?" Zach says, about a week. Then Lockdown says, grinning, "Man, you already got a story in the school paper and it's only been a week? Next thing I know, Squirrels will be handing out your mixtape." He lowers the paper, studying Zach. "This you for real?" Then Zach says, still smiling, "That's the mission now." Lockdown nods and says, "You was always real, but this is power, bro." Then Zach says, quiet but firm, eyes distant, "It's not about power. It's about planting something better than what we were handed. A world where my son can breathe free, where animals aren't born just to suffer, where innocence doesn't have to bleed to feed the broken. That's bigger than power. That's purpose." Zach in lockdown for the next few days accomplished a lot and had a lot of wholesome moments. Lockdown tried eating vegan chili with surprise and delight. Lockdown watched Zach perform many times, sometimes even tearing up himself. Lockdown freestyling to a beat while Zach plays acoustic guitar. Later that week, while Zach and Lockdown are street performing, a truck crashes just down the road from them. Smoke rises from the side of the road. A small animal transport van is skidded off course, one wheel lodged in a ditch. The back door is bent open, crates cracked, feathers scattered. A couple of activists were already there listening to Z-Man, so they run over, trying to gather loose hens with towels and boxes. Zach kneels beside one hen, trembling, matted feathers, a tag still clipped to her foot. Lockdown jogs up, out of breath. He stares at the scene, confused. "Yo, what happened?" An activist says, "Slaughterhouse van lost control. Some of them ran. This one froze." The truck driver says, grumbling, "Just great. That's coming out of my paycheck." He waves half-heartedly at the activists. "Y'all do what you want. Just don't break my ramp." Zach hums softly, cradling the hen in his arms. Her breathing is rapid, panicked. Zach says, whispering, "You're okay now. Nobody's taking you back." He rocks slightly, shielding her from the noise. Lockdown watches, eyes narrowing, the moment slowing. Then Lockdown says to himself, "That bird ain't just meat to him. She's scared and he's right here, calming her like a brother, like she matters." The hen tucks her head beneath Zach's chin. Lockdown swallows hard. He steps closer, kneels, gently strokes her back. Then Lockdown says, voice low, almost to himself, "I've been fighting for change my whole life, but nothing ever looked me in the eyes like this." Off in the distance, unseen by anyone, the soil beneath the elder tree quivers. A single sprout cracks through the surface, glowing faintly violet at the tip. A new tree of life begins to stir, one born not from music, but from a warrior's awakened heart. Zach looks up, surprised, but says nothing, just nods. Later that week, Lockdown was street performing with Zach. He's rapping lyrics that say, "Used to fight for scraps, now I fight for peace. Plant power in my veins, let the killing cease." A couple hours later, after busking, they're sitting in a coffee shop. Zach and Lockdown sit across from each other, sipping tea. Lockdown says, "I'm in, bro. Vegan, music, mission, all of it. You showed me a different path, and I ain't ever going back." Then a couple hours later, Zach and Lockdown sit on a curb near a closed storefront. Zach tunes his guitar. Lockdown taps rhythms on a nearby trash can lid. A faint breeze stirs litter and flyers. Lockdown says softly, almost joking, "Man, remember when this was the big time? That corner over there? $15 and a stale donut." Zach says, smiling faintly, 15 if we were lucky. 10 if they hated the message." Then Lockdown says, "They always hated the message. Still do. But you kept playing it anyway, even when you were starving." Zach doesn't answer right away. He plucks a single, steady chord. The sound rings out. Then Zach says, "I don't do this 'cause they'll listen. I do it in case someone's ready to hear it." Lockdown looks down at his hands, flexing his fingers. Lockdown says, "You always talk like the world's got a soul that can wake up. Me? I think you gotta slap it in the face just to get a blank." Then Zach says, "Then maybe we're both right," with a slight grin. "You slap it awake. I sing to keep it awake." They share a brief, genuine laugh. Lockdown nods, then slowly pulls out a purple and black bandana, the one he wore back when they were on the streets. Lockdown says, "Alright, Mr. Z-Man, one more round. Let's wake him up or knock him out trying." Zach rises. They fist bump. The guitar is slung back over his shoulder. They start walking off into the city lights, towards their mission, street performing. Zach and Lockdown perform together. A small crowd gathers. Music ripples through the block. Flowers bloom and sidewalk cracks. Smiles widen. A child claps joyfully. A gentle deer wanders nearby, calmly watching. Nearby, hidden behind a trash can, the raccoon munches on a half-eaten sandwich, crumbs stuck to his whiskers. The squirrel perches on a fire hydrant, tail flickering, eyes twinkling. The raccoon says, grumbling through mouthfuls, "If people are gonna litter, they could at least toss out the non-rotten stuff. What am I, compost with legs?" The squirrel says, cheerfully watching the music, "I like when the tall one sings. It makes the trees hum." The raccoon squints and says, "They're literally both the same height." Then the squirrel says, grinning, "I know. I like when both of them sing." The raccoon belching softly, "It makes my stomach hum. That harmony hit my third stomach. Or maybe that was the bad sushi." The squirrel says, giggling, "Shh. This is the good part. Look. They were smiling again." The raccoon says, and grins despite himself, "Yeah, not bad for walking salad bar." They both watch as the music swells. For a moment, even the city seems to pause. Some powers come from pain, others from purpose, but together, they became something louder. Zach and Lockdown finished playing their music, and they're now walking side by side into the sunset. Their shadows stretch long behind them, one with a guitar, the other with a mic, music notes and vines in their wake. Z-Man found his voice. Now, he had his brother back. Through a smoky glass window of the bar at night, in downtown Columbia, Missouri, Zach and Lockdown perform on a stage. Their voices mix with guitar chords and laughter from inside. Outside, sitting quietly on the curb across the street, is Cowboy Titanium. He's massive and posing. His wide-brimmed hat hides his eyes as he sits astride his beat-up bicycle, the wagon behind him humming faintly from a small amplifier. One enormous hand rests on his knee, the other idly tapping a rhythm on the metal edge of the wagon. He watches through the glass, a faint grin curling at the corner of his mouth, a glint of something like pride in his eyes. Then, he sees movement. Shadows slide along the street like oil. One by one, harvest agents peel out of the dark, clad in jagged black armor, visors glowing blood red. Within seconds, 20 agents have encircled the bar, their presence silent and predatory. Some heft massive butcher cleavers. Others crack flinting whips with a deep black shadow aura around them. A few shoulder harpoon launchers, the barbs glistening wet, while two more level scatterblade rifles that rattle with whispering black shards. Their breath fogs faintly in the air as they tighten the noose around the bar. Cowboy sighs. Without hurry, he lifts his hat from his head, sets it gently on the wagon, and rises, a mountain of muscle and resolve. He says quietly to himself, "Guess we're doing this dance again." The nearest agent lunges. Cowboy catches the attacker mid-charge by the chest plate, lifts him like a doll, and hurls him into the street lamp, which snaps in two. Before the next two can react, he snatches a cleaver from one, shatters it in his bare hand, and slams the shards into another's helmet, sending him sprawling. Whips crack toward him. Cowboy grabs one out of the air, yanks its owner forward, and drives a massive elbow into the agent's visor, shattering it. He wraps the whip around the neck of another, swings him like a flail into two more agents, sending them all tumbling. A scatterblade rifle shrieks, black shards slice through the air, but Cowboy plants his feet, crosses his arms in front of him. Shards bounce off his forearms, Shadow being much weaker than Cowboy's titanium. Then Cowboy charges at the rifleman. One colossal punch sends the rifleman skidding halfway down the block, his weapon clattering into darkness. The harpoon launches, a barbed line shoots out, but Cowboy twists, catching the cable, and yanks the wielder into the path of another's blade. The two collapse in a heap as Cowboy grabs the harpoon, spins it, and javelins it into a distant agent who's trying to retreat. Chaos reigns. He tears a parking meter from the ground, swinging it like a club to swat down three agents at once. He stomps the pavement, sending cracks, spiderwebbing beneath the agents' feet, knocking them off balance. He catches a cleaver blade in his palm, grins, and hurls it into a fleeing agent's back, pinning him to the wall before him and the cleaver dissolve away. Finally, silence. The street is littered with faint scorch marks, shattered armor fragments, and black eye cord. Cowboy adjusts his vest, picks his hat up, dusts it off, and places it back on his head. He sits casually back on the curb, leans against his wagon, pulls out a harmonica, blowing a quiet, lazy tune as if nothing at all had happened. But behind him, the shadows stir again. One of the harvest agents, still barely conscious, pulls himself upright, clutching a jagged reset beacon. He slams it into the ground. The beacon flares black, sending a wave of dark energy through the street. The cracked pavement knits itself. Shattered glass reforms in windows. The street lamps stand upright, glowing faintly. The ichor seeps into the cracks and vanishes. The broken bodies of the agents dissolve into tar and melt away, leaving behind an eerily pristine, empty street. Cowboy doesn't even look back. His harmonica hums softly in the night as the last faint red glow of the reset fades away. And now, Zach and Lockdown are about to step outside. They're just packing up their stuff inside the dive bar, laughing faintly about something, unaware of the chaos that just unfolded. Cowboy sits exactly where he started, calm, colossal, and waiting. Zach and Lockdown walk out of the dive bar, still laughing. Cowboy is seated on the curb, half in shadow, watching them. They freeze. Zach says wide-eyed, "Cowboy Titanium? You're alive?" Lockdown says, grinning, "Yo, no way. I knew I recognized that hat." Cowboy tips his hat with a slight smile. Street light shines behind him. Cowboy Titanium says, "Earth and fire. You boys lit up the dark tonight." Z-Man says, "You were watching?" Cowboy Titanium says, "Had to make sure the thunder and lightning I lit in you didn't fizzle out. Been checking in from the shadows ever since you two shared the first rhyme downtown on 9th Street and Broadway." Lockdown says, grinning, "Man, you gave me the speaker when I was sleeping in a doorway." Z-Man says, "You taught me to sing louder before I knew I had the lungs to carry it." Cowboy Titanium says, "And y'all didn't disappoint." They stand in silence. A breeze carries a soft note from somewhere, a distant guitar chord. Cowboy Titanium says abrasively, "Go make some damn music." Zach and Lockdown nod and walk off together, silhouettes glowing in the streetlight haze. Cowboy watches. As they walk off, Cowboy walks into the alleyway, and he leaps from the alley to a metal fire escape, then climbs up a rooftop. Stars shimmer overhead. His movements are calm, deliberate, but he doesn't notice the glowing sign above the building's front entrance that says CEO's Hotel. Cowboy Titanium mutters to himself, "Told him to make music, forgot to tell myself to listen." Then he has a flashback. A once beautiful forest, now set ablaze as a battlefield. It lies in ruin. Trees smolder, animal shelters collapse. Scorched vines choke twisted buildings. A younger Cowboy Titanium stands center frame, fists ablaze with silver blue fire, locked in a brutal fight against shadow-armored harvest soldiers, and the Cowboy's roar echoes as he strikes a massive shadow beast. But the shockwave from his power ruptures the land around him. Mid-ground, a frightened child clutches a rabbit behind a crumbled wall. A falling beam crashes nearby. Screams arise. A glowing tree of life, silver and ancient, stands beside Cowboy, until one of his wild energy bursts spiral out and splits the tree down the center. Cowboy screams out loud, "No shadow leaves here alive." At the foreground, Mother Nature materializes amid the wreckage, grief written across her face. She places a glowing hand on the dying tree. Mother Nature says, "You fought to protect life, but fury blinded you. Even divine steel shatters when it's forged in rage." Now back to the present moment. Cowboy sits on the rooftop, bottle clutched in hand. His jaw clenches. The skyline glows faintly behind him. He's silent. He sets down the bottle and opens the weathered notebook in his lap. The page shows a list of names. Some are crossed out. Others have small hand-drawn sketches beside them. A chicken in a crate. A young homeless girl holding a small dog. A tree with a cracked trunk. One entry has a faint star next to it. At the bottom of the page, barely visible. "Still out there," it says. Cowboy flips to a weathered page. A hand-drawn tree of life, split down the center, spans the top. Beneath it, a scribbled note in faded ink. The note says, "Still hope, if he builds himself into what the world needs." Beside the tree is a small sketch of Zach, hood up, guitar slung over his shoulder, eyes determined but wary. A tiny star is marked next to Zach's figure. A breeze lifts the corner of the page, rustling the paper, delicate, uncertain. He puts the book back in his pocket and slumps down in his usual spot. The whiskey bottle is nearly empty. He rummages through a few empty bottles scattered around, shaking each one to find the last with any whiskey left. He tips it. One last drop rolls out, hits the ground beside him. Then Cowboy Titanium says, "Can't even drown in my rust anymore." From the rooftop shadows, a dark silhouette of a man steps forward. He's immaculate. Black suit, blood red tie, mirror glass shades. The CEO walks into view. The air grows colder. Well, well, last time I saw you, cowboy, you were getting booted from Mother Nature's little hippie circus. The CEO continues. And now, you've been squatting up here on my hotel roof, stinking of cheap booze and self-pity. Cowboy doesn't move, just opens one eye, annoyed, and continues to shake the bottle for another drink despite knowing it's empty. Then Cowboy Titanium says, "And last time I saw you, you still thought profit was a personality trait." The CEO continuing, "Still playing babysitter for tree huggers and broken heroes, huh? Tell me, how close are you to the green one? Z-Man?" The CEO says, smirking, his teeth glint cold. The CEO continues, "He's different. There's light in him, but something darker too. Rot and radiance fused. You were the test run, the one that cracked under pressure. Let's melt you down and build something better." Cowboy Titanium says gruffly, trying to drink. "Still talking like a PowerPoint with a god complex, huh?" He shakes the empty bottle. Nothing. Slaps the bottom of it. Then Cowboy Titanium continues, muttering, "Give me one reason not to knock the smug out of your mouth." Then the CEO's shades start to scan Cowboy. The CEO says, "My HUD says you're worth negative $1,000. You're so drunk you'll probably fall into my rooftop generator and make me have to buy a new one." He continues, "But your divine titanium, priceless. Relic infused alloy, her last metal. I could extract enough to fuel 10 prototype suits." Cowboy stands slowly, bone creaks, glint of metal under his skin. Then he says, "Funny, they still don't make generators tough enough for titanium bones, and if I break your generator, it's on purpose." The CEO lunges, black tendrils flying from his sleeves. Cowboy blocks with titanium arm. Sparks fly. Whiskey bottle flies. Shatters. Cowboy Titanium grinning. "Hate to break it to you, partner. I might be drunk, but I ain't dead yet." The CEO says, "Imagine it. Neural-linked armor laced with your divine titanium. I wouldn't just own the battlefield. I'd patent it." The CEO lands a hard punch, but Cowboy barely budges and only grins. Cowboy Titanium says, raising steel fists, "Here's your first prototype, tech boy. Let's see if it leaves a mark." They clash fists and tendrils destroy rooftop tiles. Cowboy slams CEO into the wall. Cowboy Titanium has a brief flashback. Younger Cowboy beside Mother Nature and the Tree of Life. Mother Nature says, "Your bones are not ordinary. Forged from the last alloy of the old world, they are nature's steel." Back to present moment. Cowboy punches hard, and the CEO's glasses crack. A red robotic eye is exposed. Cowboy pins him to a ledge. "You're obsolete," says the CEO. Then Cowboy Titanium says, "Yeah, and you're about to be recalled." CEO throws a smoke bomb and vanishes into a portal. Cowboy Titanium breathes hard on the rooftop. His hands glow silver blue, light crackling softly from his fingertips. They wrote his ending, and he crossed it out. His bones remember the old world, and his fists write the new one. In the distant open field by the elder tree, a new sapling bursts through the soil. Silver-barked and blue-leaved, it shimmers with life, signaling Cowboy Titanium's reconnection. Mother Nature says to herself, "Yes, he's returned." Back on the rooftop, Mother Nature now stands beside Cowboy Titanium, radiant and watchful. Mother Nature says, "You found your spark again, Titanium. Come home." Cowboy looks at the empty bottle in his hand he just picked up from the ground. Then he pauses, torn between old pain and new light. Cowboy Titanium says to himself, "One more drink." He hesitates, then throws the bottle off the roof. "All right, let's ride." Mother Nature gives him a long, knowing look. Her eyebrow arches gently. Mother Nature says, "Cowboy?" She doesn't need to say more. Cowboy sighs, climbs down, retrieves the shattered bottle pieces with care. Then Cowboy Titanium says, "Right, my bad." He drops the glasses gently into a recycling bin. Hands still glowing faintly. Back on the rooftop, Mother Nature smiles. A soft breeze stirs. Cowboy stands tall beside her and says, "Now we ride." Funny how life works. One day, you're sleeping under bridges, and the next day, you're growing whole forests out of sidewalks, and reuniting with one of the only people who have freestyled truth next to you on the street. But that's the thing about waking up. You start attracting people who remember who you were, and who push you towards who you're supposed to be. I didn't save the world that day. Didn't even stop the system. But I held a hen like she mattered. And someone who thought he'd seen it all saw something new. And then Cowboy Titanium came back. Guess the universe likes a good reunion. Truth is, I didn't know what was coming next. But I knew it was bigger than me. Bigger than all of us. There was something rising out there. Something feeding on our disconnection from each other, from the earth, from who we really are. But if we stayed rooted and moved with the loudest truth, not just noise, not inflated ego, we can be the kind of loud that cuts through illusion, the kind of quiet that helps the world finally hear. Thanks for watching. See you in chapter 3.
Can you feel love? Do you feel it? Can you feel love? Do you feel it? Can you feel love? Do you feel it? Can you feel love? Just like